Hello everyone! So I have a lot of questions, very interesting questions together in three comments of my friend Varun, and I would like to address all of them. But let's put this in some order that will be more interesting to add here. So I start speaking about performance versus recording. This is the first thing. And why I'm going to say this? Because this is going to explain other points later. So I give you an example that was mentioned here. One of these pianists is Marc-André Ramelin. So I have the opportunity to go to one of his concerts recently when he came here to the city where I'm living, Changsha, and I watched his concert. He played the Hammerklavier Sonata by Beethoven, and he played Ravel, Gaspard de la Nuit, and he played also Schumann Kinderszenen Opus 15. And was a lovely concert. We had the chance to speak in the end. Was quite nice. But of course I could also notice some things, like for example, I have heard recordings of him playing live Hammerklavier before, and when I listened to him playing here live, he was playing a little bit slower, with much more mistakes, and with very strange passage that looks like he was like nervous or something like this. And this is not what we expect from Ramelin, because when we listen to his recordings, normally is almost everything perfect, right? And is that means that he's not playing good? No, calm down. So let me explain another thing. And also I have a friend who went to listen to one of his concerts in Italy, I think around 2008 or 2009, and he was playing Chopin Ballade number 2, apparently, or number 3, I think number 3. And during the concert at some point he stopped and apologized and said that he's going to start the piece again because he lost himself. Well, I never see a video like this, right? We never see a Ramelin video like this. But there is nothing strange on this actually. We are speaking about one thing that is performance, and the other is recording. When we speak about recording, it's not that just you can make editions and that's it. But when you open internet nowadays and say, oh, I'm going to watch all the videos of this pianist that I like too much, oh, I'm going to watch the videos of that pianist that I like too much, you need to keep in mind that the recordings that everyone is going to post is one recording selected from many practices and sometimes many recordings. One pianist that plays the same repertoire for 1 year is going to play sometimes, maybe let's say someone that plays not too many concerts, but play like 50 concerts per year. Yeah? He's going to play 50 times in front of public that piece, and one of these recordings will be available on the internet. And then you're going to listen the same pianist playing the same piece maybe in 2-3 years, or 4 years after, or 5 years after. And this 5 years after is also in one selected recording from more than 50 performances. So the main point is there are days that an actor or a pianist or any artist, there are days that you are not in the mood, or you are feeling something, or you are not feeling good, or you are by any reason you are not happy, or you are not, can happen. And I'm not saying that this is the case of what happened with Ramelin, but the point is he make a brilliant performance most part of the time, you know. But I noted things that is not typical from him. And the point is, can I, because of this, think that he's less artist or less musician than the normal? No. Actually, I know that I was watching a performance. I was not watching his recording. And a recording is the selection of his best moment, the moment that he thinks, oh, this is where I could catch the best ideas. And we still need to remember that nowadays, when recording is much easier, at least in the last, let's say 40, 50 years, we have the opportunities to make editions. And the editions means if I make a recording and it's almost perfect, I still can go there and record again just that part and try to make some kind of glue and paste. We have this kind of technology for a long time, and if you think, no, I don't like these new pianists because in the past were different, I'm sorry to tell you that this is used as long as we have recordings, as long as we have pianola, as long as we have the piano roll, we have people making additions. Many piano rolls were made additions on the roll, and then they printed the last roll. That is the one that we listen nowadays. And the same happens if you pick up some records. Studio recordings like Claudio Ahau playing Chopin Etudes. You pick up Chopin Etude number 1 and listen with very good earphones. You are going to find the moment where there is a cut between two records that are glued, because probably he made some mistake and he was not happy, so he played again and connected half etude with half etude around. And it's an addition, and this makes him a smaller musician or a less artist than others. No, this is a tool that we use because one thing is a performance, and in a performance we cannot go back in time. There is no time machine that we can use for anything, also not for arts. And of course, every artist wants to do the things as perfect as possible, but we are going to make mistakes, and this is what is performance about. So answering one of the words that was mentioned there, don't let the MIDI win, right? Actually, I don't think that's about winning or losing. It's about different things. When I see, for example, people that I see some time ago, I discovered that some people do that, what they call black MIDI, that are some very crazy stuff, full of notes, a lot of noise, unplayable music. And okay, this have its space by itself, but I don't think this is going to make pianists lose their job, because the job of a pianist is not play like a black MIDI. And even if you develop a lot your playing and make yourself a great technician of the piano, this is not going to make you take the job of someone that is loved by their expression. There are plenty. I think maybe most of the main pianists of the big labels, they are not technicians. When you think about, let's take example, one pianist that I even don't like too much, like Marta Argerich. She play fast and she have great expression, but can you say that she easily play something in the level of Godowsky? We never heard she play this. And she is always playing the same kind of stuff for all her life, mostly Chopin, few Liszt pieces. And of course, difficult pieces, but can you say that she played the most difficult pieces ever? No, and she is still will have concert until her last wish of, while she's alive, she's going to make concerts and people will love her. And AI is not going to stop her work, And even if she live more 100 years from now, this is not going to stop her work. So this is not about the technique itself. When we think about the technique itself and think that there is some kind of danger for the arts with the technology, actually it's untrue, because art is not about being fast or being perfect. Art is about creating things. And this creation can be, there are plenty of creations with imperfections, or things that for some are imperfections while for others are beauty. For example, one of my favorite recordings of Rachmaninoff Sonata No. 2 is by Horowitz, and it's full of mistakes. And I have heard people playing much more perfectly, with perfect, and I feel cold, but I cannot blame that is not, maybe that is because I heard too much in my early times, but when it comes to taste, that was my taste, that is my taste. And taste is the enemy of art. So we need to keep this in mind. I cannot define art based on my taste. So basically, I cannot say that what someone make in a performance is less important because there are some mistakes, or what some make in the recording is less important because use some edition. We have plenty of tools for this. We have even tools that can slightly change notes if you play the wrong notes. So it's interesting. I think that if you use this and you have a reason for using that, well, use. And if you, because the point, what will make the big difference is if you need to go to a concert and they ask you to play the same piece, you are supposed to be able to play that as much perfect as possible. There will be maybe mistakes, yes, but you need to be at least able to play similar to your recording, right? If you are not able to play even similar, if you play too different from your recording, then what's the meaning of playing that piece? So it's better even not play. It's better to say, okay, I'm not able to do that, and say, you mentioned one pianist that is, what's his name? Nana Zakov, right? Nana Zakov, something like this. I never heard about, but probably this pianist, if he's doing this kind of work completely edited and make everything in a digital form, I don't think that he is going to be able to make a concert playing the same things, because people will not feel attracted to listen to someone playing imperfectly what he sells or shows in a perfectly way. There's no big meaning in doing this. But if his intention is not making concerts, this is a very interesting thing to do. So I think this is the first part that needs to be clarified. Okay. Second thing, we need to keep in mind that when we have a score, we have the most faithful interpretation of the composer before the possibility of a recording. Okay, this is one important thing. The concept of interpretation was first writing in the score, and music with less indications, like Bach, like even sometimes Mozart, comes from times where the instruments code and deliver what they can now. So why the indications start to have more and more indications in the musical score? Why you can put more kinds of crescendo, diminuendo, rubato, ritenuto, martellato, portato, all these kind of things. Why all this kind of information can be more and more noted in the score? Because we developed understandings and instruments that can connect to these understandings. If you pick up some harpsichord, you cannot make all the expressions that you can do nowadays in a normal piano, in a standard grand piano. So there is no sense in put a lot of indications. Oh, here is a crescendo, here is a diminuendo. But when you play Bach music with orchestra, you pick up the orchestral suites, for example. You are never going to play that flat sound, like some people even suggest sometimes that you need to make a strong layer and a little bit more soft layer, like you are playing a kind of old harpsichord with 2 sets of strings or something like this. You can do this, it can be interesting, but you cannot say that this is the only real way of interpreting, because the instrument of that time cannot deliver more. But doesn't mean that Bach had in his mind a concept of a music that is squared or flat in some sense. Because when you play orchestral music or you play his choral music, you have expression. And you have that shown in the expression. You have the singing with some crescendo, diminuendo, and even some ritardando and accelerando happening. So I don't see what is the difference between when you listen to orchestra and when you listen to someone playing piano, and why some pianists think that, oh, in the piano you cannot use rubato here, because in Mozart we don't use rubato. Well, according to some letters of some of his students, there is one, I don't remember, it was mentioned by Alfredo Casella, if I'm not wrong. There is one letter that is mentioned the fact that Mozart seems to get out of the tempo and get back to the tempo while playing. And as we will describe later, this is what many people will call rubato. But there is no score in Mozart that he says play here with rubato or rubato, and it's not typical from Mozart, this kind of indication. And Mozart sometimes have some very weird indications too, and it's difficult even to us nowadays to pick up the instrument and get exactly that, because he sometimes he wants a very strong expression, and but he's not going to often use 3 Fs, right? So when he have F, he already is asking you to play really strong, and people normally interpret like a small change, and they say, oh, this is because of the style, because the instrument of that time. Well, if you play orchestra, it's not like this. If you are going to conduct Don Juan, your forte will be forte, will not be just a little bit more than piano because of the style. No, this is not going to happen. So this is another thing that we need keep in mind. Another, the example that was given about the Bollywood song, yeah, is quite a good one because it's a cultural meaning that requires more than just the musical score. And so I believe that the interpretation of the Indian violinist must be much better than compared to someone that just listen and enjoy. And sometimes we need to keep in mind also some things that maybe I want to make a little bit the devil's lawyer here. Maybe this other violinist that you heard, he listened to it and see all this drama behind the music, but he feel it different. I'm not saying that this is right, but and then he decided to do that and put his face and say, this is my interpretation. Okay, I will not say that I like to do this kind of thing, but I give you a very simple example of one wrong thing that I like to do. There is a famous, very, very famous piece for piano by Antonin Dvorak called Humoresque, right? Opus 100, 100 something, 100, I think it's number 7, I don't remember now. The Opus 104, I don't remember by memory. But I heard that many times, and even playing with other instruments, I see other instruments playing that Humoresque. And I must admit that when I listen that played as it's supposed to be, I don't like it. But when played at that beginning, without making that staccato and making it like a kind of nostalgic piece, I think it's so beautiful. But this is not what Dvorak asked in the score. So this is a piece that probably I will always avoid to play, because the way I like it is completely wrong. But it's the way I like. And as I said before, taste is enemy of art. But doesn't mean that if I, by any reason, I decide that I want to show that maybe that cannot be a completely different view of art. Like, for example, if you think, how many people we have seen making different art inspired by Mona Lisa, for example. Many paintings that, like, you can see Homer Simpson as Mona Lisa, right? You can see you can see many different kinds. If you make a quick research on internet about this kind of thing, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of paintings that is the same pose of Mona Lisa with a different character, with cat face, with everything that you can ever imagine. And this is less art because you change it. Well, it's not Mona Lisa for sure. You got? So it's a different thing. So maybe if one day I consider that I want to play this Humoresque by Dvorak, and I want to keep that interpretation that is completely different from his wish, maybe I will say this is my view on the music, despite the fact this is not Dvorak. So maybe I will add Simihu on that to say I'm going beyond the limit of that, the limit of what he asked for his music. I'm kind of almost rearranging that with one small characteristic, but I am changing. So I need to admit that. Maybe what happens is that because of the market, no one do this nowadays. So this violinist probably never cared about doing something saying that this is his version of the Bollywood song, right? A more Western reading. And maybe if he put his name saying that he decided to change things characteristically, then will be understood as, for example, Glenn Gould playing Bach. I cannot tell you that Glenn Gould plays Bach as Bach is expected to sound. Not because, but we cannot prove how Bach wants the music. Yes, but we can see what was the tradition of organ playing and the tradition of harpsichord playing, and is not related to Glenn Gould playing. So it can be somewhat different, can have more expression, but it cannot be like Glenn Gould. But it's not that it's less special. Actually, Glenn Gould is a very interesting way of approach Bach, very interesting way to study, and artistically it's very interesting. But it's Glenn Gould. Okay, I will never present Glenn Gould as this is the best reference of Bach. No, it's not. It's not. If you want to know Bach, avoid Glenn Gould first. Otherwise, you are going to have some impression that the well-tempered clavier needs starting staccato. And it's not like this. But no problem. It's interesting anyway. And you can use this for your own practice. I posted on Patreon one exercise using Bach. So you can use that for a practice. You can even use that for make a new arrangement. Yes, can be done. But the point is, at some point you need sign because you're changing a little bit too much. And good is good in basically everything that he plays, right? So so other thing that you say that maybe can be related to this, actually there is another thing that I was just thinking here about interpretation, and what this kind of thing of changing cultural things or changing the way that people approach the music is what make me, for example, quite far off listening to Lang Lang. I remember when he started to become famous, I started to listen, and then I quickly, when after he make that Dragon Songs CD, I cut relations, let's say, of listening, and I see some videos too, because of this is not about static. If it would be all that those faces that he make, all these things, if it's because this is his aesthetic, like Rudolf Serkin, for example, Rudolf Serkin show too much expressions while playing, very weird ones sometimes, but that was a characteristic of his own playing and studying. With Lang Lang, sounds too fake to me. Why? Because when he plays Chinese music, for example, and we can see plenty of videos of him playing Chinese music here in China, you see the respect that he plays every note and the way that he's serious playing. And then we see he playing Liszt, and even with wrong notes, really wrong notes, and he make all that mockery with his face, like he is trying to make a joke out of it. And he's not even playing perfectly, he's just playing sometimes very fast with some effects to avoid using the finger that he need to use there, and then give the impression that he's doing more but he's doing less. So this kind of thing make me far, because sounds like someone making mockery of classical music, but when it's Chinese music, it's very respectful. So I get out, and like this need to be our approach to the art. You need at some point use the filter of your taste, of what you agree, what you disagree. And in this point, we are not speaking about the art itself. I'm not speaking that it's less art what he do. I'm speaking that I don't like, and I don't like makes no difference to the art. Okay, it's my taste, and my taste makes no difference to anyone other than me. Sometimes people can be interested. Oh, what's your taste? I can't say, but it's because someone asked me to say something. Because otherwise, what's the difference? What I like. What makes difference is what I create. I'm a composer, so I can create music. Okay. If people like that and they want to play, okay, they can pick up, they can play, they have some things that they will eventually change or have a different view from what I have, but they need somewhat follow what I wrote. Otherwise, they are going to make a new arrangement of my music, right? And finally, getting to the point of the human-machine hybrid system for a best performance, right? Well, I think that there are two ways of seeing this. One is as a composer, the other is as a performer. As a composer, I have nothing against. If you say to me, oh, we are going to make here something that you make the perfection of of interpretation of your piece. For example, when every time I try to play my etude number 5, that is from my Opus 1, I never feel comfortable. The most near to comfortable that I feel was when I tried to play it in the Stewart pianos. Why I'm saying this? Because when I play any other normal piano, Steinway, Yamaha CFX, or any other, the instrument is always below the quality of what I want as a sound for that etude. So I cannot reach that with this instrument. I need something that is a little bit more magical, that gives me a wider range and that can really make the sound blur in the correct way and still sound with that clarity. So Stewart piano was the piano that gave me this in the best way. So I had the chance to practice a little bit in those pianos. I make some recordings. And this etude, of course, I would need more time in that time to be able to sit down and record. But I see, okay, here is near to be what I want. And this I think happened with all composers in the past, like Beethoven. He had some musical ideas that some instruments was not delivering as they can deliver now. So if someone present me a recording that is perfect of this, I will be amazed to listen, because I have the musical idea in my mind, but I hardly can listen something near to the perfection of the concept. Because music is beyond instruments. This is the title of one of my books, because when I speak about the art of transcription. So the point is, when we are speaking about the concept of how you create the music based on the sound that you are waiting for, that you need the instrument to help. So I just said in another video here that the instrument will change completely your voicing. You can practice voicing, you can make easier your voicing, but you need, if you have the best instrument in your hands, your voicing will be much easier to do. And for when we go to very difficult kinds of interpretation, very difficult kinds of etudes or techniques, well, machines, if well developed, probably can do much better than us. Yes. And as a composer, I'm very, very curious to see. And when it comes, for example, to orchestral music, I have some orchestral music that I made, and some of them were never performed. And I'm not so much in hurry to perform, because I would love to have them performed as long as the orchestra will practice at least 2 weeks. And normally they want to practice 2-3 days, and they think they will be, this is what we are going to do with your music. And first, it's very expensive, and second, the number of practices is too low for the requirements that I'm doing. So I'm sure that the result will be terrible. Like was with some, for example, I make one ballet music that was presented in USA 3 times, and the 3 times was not good, because they practice like 2 days before, 3 days before, and the music requires much more than this. Some people sometimes think that because you are a contemporary composer, that your music is supposed to be too much avant-garde, like you play thinking that you are flying in the clouds, play with a spoon. I don't do this. I'm not so interested in this kind of thing. So I really ask them to make some complex rhythms, and they need to play together, and they need to play in the beat, and they need to play correctly and with the right expression and right notes, and doesn't happen. So it was a little bit of waste in some way, because I give a lot of energy to do that score, and the 3 times the performance was not good. So okay, thank you anyway, right? But it was not good. And if you ask me, would you be happy to listen to something that sounds perfect but is AI made? Well, I will be very happy. Because at least I can show this music easily than just a MIDI. MIDI sounds horrible. I didn't see yet a wonderful MIDI. Maybe someone can do, but I never listened to a wonderful MIDI. So, and I make MIDI from this symphonic works that I have, and because I have to write down the score, then you can convert it directly. It's too terrible. And maybe if you say, but there are some edition tools, etc. I think that the amount of work in front of a computer is too big. If someone already have the talent to do this and know how to do this fast, wonderful. And I would be very curious to see how it can sound. But I'm really happy with the technology in order to help to make some music with high quality. But I don't know if it's not so simple like movie songs. Like, for example, nowadays when you think about the Hollywood movies, and they use, I heard that many are using now AI to make the orchestral sounds, etc. But what they need to do orchestral is very simple. They're not going to write something post-Wagnerian style. It's not going to sound like that. And when it's just some dissonance, it's some few notes, because it's to give some, it's always simple. There's nothing that is really that complex or that requires too much from the pseudo player, let's say. So it's the AI or the tools or whatever it is are answering appropriated for that. But when it comes to write a symphonic poem, for example, and you have some requirements that need to be fulfilled, as from everything that I have seen until now, is always still not enough. But I will be happy if it's enough, because then I will be happy to listen to my own music like this and promote this even. And maybe at some point some orchestras will start to play and maybe one day I will be playing together with Beethoven in the same concert, with an orchestra playing some orchestral music by Beethoven, by Liszt, and me. Why not? I will be happy, but not necessarily this is going to happen while I'm alive. But I'm also not caring about these days. But the point is, so when it comes to piano, there is another point, that is, if you just want to listen to that, I don't see problems in doing. But if you plan to perform that, and you push too much the boundaries of what you're doing, and you do this in a form of using AI, using any machine, at some point there will be a huge difference between who you are and what is that recording that you present as yourself. So this is not good, but can be done. Well, can. I am against that. Well, I'm curious to listen, to be able to say, oh, this, oh, that. But I think that in the end, what really matters is if there is a musical message on that. I'm not someone that thinks that musical message is something that only can be made by someone that is thinking about music, because I have listened to some very simple songs made by people that have no study in music, and these simple songs are pretty beautiful. There are plenty of folk music from many countries that are pretty moving, pretty beautiful, and I would love sometimes to make variations on that. I remember a long time ago, I make variations on Golova Bali, that is a song, a Russian song. I make like 10 kinds of variations for different instruments, and it was lovely to work on that. But that's not a classical music in any sense. But many composers did this too. Beethoven, Schumann, Brahms. There are plenty of people making variations on popular songs, songs. And so at some point that was made, the original song was made by someone that not necessarily have a musical knowledge, and there's no problem with that. What it becomes after is still full of musical meaning, and it's and even if it's just singing by a group of people, like some folk singers, this is still a beautiful piece of art. We cannot just classify as art what we do as classical musicians. Classical art is what we do, so we can classify what is classical music. And I understand your point, and I think that if you have tools that help you to promote music or to make a music more widely known, because you can make a recording faster, you even don't need maybe perform that, well, I don't see problems. But if you need to perform, you also need to practice in the same level. As I said in another video, if you want to play with perfection, you need to practice with perfection. And it's not making using AI or making MIDIs that you're going to play with perfection. This is the only point that we need to keep in mind. Okay, 3 times longer than normal, but I think I answered most part of it, right? I think there is no other thing to answer. I hope you enjoy this, and let's keep in touch and discuss whatever is interesting to discuss. Okay, so see you people.